So, coming from the horse's mouth, OpenAI itself, confidential submission of draft S1 to the SEC. Quote, we recently submitted a confidential S1. We expect it to leak, so we're just announcing it. We have not decided on timing yet. It may be a while because there are things we want to do that are likely easier as a private company, but it's a complicated set of trade-offs, and this gives us the option to go public sooner if that ends up being best. So there you go. OpenAI has put in their S1 filings. Now we can all sleep a lot easier. What does this actually mean? Honestly, who the hell knows? This is one of those things where it's like, it's a really pretty nothing burger. It kind of sort of means something, but not really all at the same time. So basically, whenever a company is going to go public, they have to put their S1 filings in with the SEC. And the thing is when they put those filings in, it doesn't actually put them on a timeline for when they have to go public. So basically, they put the stuff in as long as everything is good with the SEC. After that point in time, they can go public, but is that going to be a month from now? Is that going to be 2027? Is that going to be never? Who the hell knows? And because it's a confidential filing, we don't get to see the information in there. We don't get to see how the very, very ugly sausage is made. So it also doesn't really help us out there. It just kind of shows us that OpenAI is saying we really are serious about going public at some point in the future. Honestly, I believe that this is just a PR thing that OpenAI had to do, right? SpaceX, Elon Musk, being Elon Musk, right? He had to IPO first for the largest IPO in history. So, it is Tuesday when I'm recording this. Friday is the end of American civilization. Anyways, he had to put in his IPO for SpaceX, $1.77 trillion and the whole nine yards. You know, SpaceX is SpaceX, Elon Musk is Elon Musk, Musk is gonna Musk, right? But the interesting thing, right, the thing that I think that many of us didn't see coming is that after that, Anthropic put in their S1 filings. So one of the things, one of the narratives, right, that we've kind of been told for a long time now is that Anthropic is kind of sort of an also-ran, right? OpenAI is the AI company, and Anthropic, you know, does that coding stuff over there. But the curious thing in this year, in 2026, is we've seen the valuation of Anthropic just go through the roof. So OpenAI latest valuation put them at $850 billion for OpenAI. Anthropic actually just did a raise very recently, and I do believe their valuation came to $950 billion, right? So the also-ran is now valued more than OpenAI is, and they put in their S1 filings. So it's making it seem as if OpenAI has stumbled. And so just a big question that was out there is why the hell hasn't OpenAI put in their S1 filings to the SEC? Just to get the process started from an optics standpoint, from a PR standpoint, to kind of show that they're not falling behind. It is important to understand in the technology world, so much of success and failure comes about from stories, right? So in the 1990s, when we dealt with Bill Gates, one of the big problems with Bill Gates and competing with Microsoft is something called vaporware, right? So you'd have a company and they'd have a really cool product. Like, this is a really cool product that solves a problem at a good price point and the whole nine yards. And then Microsoft would walk in and go, oh, you're going to buy their product? Oh, I mean, I guess you could buy their product, but we're coming out with essentially the exact same product in 6 months, right? They have been working on it for a long time now, right? We're just going through testing and the rest of it. Look, in a couple of months, that is just simply going to be part of the package that you're going to get when you buy the Microsoft Office suite or whatever else. So I don't even understand why you're going to buy licensing from that company, right? Well, that's where we get the idea of vaporware, because Microsoft wasn't creating that product. They didn't really have any intention to create the product, and they were not going to be sending that product out to the customers. But simply by putting that storyline out there, customers were like, well, hell. Yeah, why are we going to spend licenses, money on licenses for this software if we're just going to get from Microsoft anyway? And basically what would happen is by the time the customers realized they were never going to get this product from Microsoft, the company that they were originally going to buy the product from went bankrupt because nobody bought their damn products, right? So that's one of the big things with narratives and optics in the technology world is so many times the optics is far more important than what the reality actually is, around the situation. And so one of the big concerns right now for OpenAI is since so much of their money is coming from investors, right? It's not coming from profit. It's not coming from revenue. It's coming from investors. One of the big concerns they have is what if they are seen as the also-ran? What if they are seen as the failure? Simply being seen as a failure will end up turning you into a failure. Like, I was going to invest some in SpaceX and I was going to invest some in OpenAI. But now that OpenAI hasn't even filed on S1 yet, isn't even planning an IPO, I'm just going to take all of my money and put it onto SpaceX. Anyways, it's a way of burning money. So with OpenAI coming out and doing this optically makes it look better for them. What does this actually mean practically for OpenAI? That is an interesting question. So we heard from the CFO before. So I've been doing these videos for a while. The CFO, when she came on board, basically one of her big things was trying to clean up OpenAI's business practices so that their S1 didn't look like a goddamn disaster. And what we had been informed a number of months ago is that it would take 2027 in order to do that. That's one of the things you have to understand, the difference between private companies and public companies. With private companies, you can do a lot of hinky stuff because basically you have essentially individual investors. And as long as you convince the individual investors that what you're doing makes sense, it's going to be pretty okay, right? So a lot of times with startup companies, right, they're throwing a lot of crap against the wall, trying to figure out what'll stick. And so a lot of times they have crap business practices. Basically nothing makes sense. There's no good optics, no good PR. They're just throwing stuff against the wall, trying to figure out what their revenue and their profit will be. The issue that you get into is once your S1 filings become public, people can then see what you're doing. That's basically what happened with WeWork. Remember, WeWork was worth $45 billion. That's $45 billion. And then the S1 filings came out publicly, and people looked at what was going on. They're like, oh, what? Why do you own a wave pool? This is not a joke. They own a wave pool company. WeWork owned a wave pool company. Why? And then they're like, oh, right. And then everything went to hell. And so basically what we were told by the CFO is the idea is that they were cleaning everything up over the year period so that 2027 that they could IPO, and when they put out their S1 filings, it would make half an ounce of sense. It wouldn't look absolutely insane. What is kind of curious though is Sam Altman was actually pushing back against that, right? And that's one of the schisms you can have with the C-level executives, right? Is a CFO is like, look, from a financial standpoint, we got to clean everything up, and the executive is like, no, we have to IPO sooner, right? Strike while the iron is hot, that type of deal. So one of the things that we heard is that Sam Altman was trying to push and basically move forward the IPO in order to try to get some of this frothy AI investor money. And so now this will be interesting to see like what happens with the politics of OpenAI. Because here's the thing, until they filed the S1, they couldn't IPO. Right? So basically, the CFO was in a good position all the way up until they filed the S1. Because no matter what Sam Altman wants, if you haven't filed with the SEC, you just simply can't IPO. Right? So the CFO was in a good position. What becomes interesting now, and that's one of the things to think about with Sam Altman, when you hear about his manipulative practices, when you hear about the court case his sister is bringing against him, you do your own Google research. Anyways, right? Right, he seems to be a very manipulative type person who basically will use whatever levers of power he can actually get his hands on. So the interesting thing, before they filed the S1, he did not actually have the IPO lever of power. Like, he may want to do it, but again, until the filings happen, you can't actually do it. What's going to be interesting to see over the next, I don't know, little while, we'll see how long this goes, is basically the schism or the fight between the CFO and the CEO here, right? You have the CFO, highly professional, probably understands what's going on. You have the CEO, highly manipulative, wants what he wants. Now that the IPO is actually practically on the table, who is going to win that particular fight? It'll be interesting. It'll be curious to see what happens there. What is also going to be interesting to see with all of this is once SpaceX IPO, I mean, I think SpaceX is just dumb as a bag of rocks. Look, AI is great, space launch is great, Starlink. You've never heard me be snarky about Starlink, right? Starlink is fine. $1.77 trillion is absolutely insane. I do think what's going to be very interesting to see is what happens with all of these IPOs after SpaceX, right? So SpaceX right now, $75 billion raise, possibly an $86 billion raise, $1.77 trillion in valuation, just multiples of any raise and any valuation of any other IPO in history. But as absurd as it seems to me, it does seem absurd, apparently it's double subscribed. So people are willing to put twice as much money on the table as the raise that they're trying to do. So it'll be curious to see basically what happens on Friday. Does SpaceX pop and that launches the IPOs for all of these other AI companies, or does the IPO go bust? And then the interesting question for these AI companies, what happens next? So normally, right? If you get a bad IPO market, this happens every once in a while, you have all these companies, right? They're chomping at the bit to IPO. Somebody IPOs, it goes boom. And then you have the companies that were planning to IPO, they start backing off. They're like, well, maybe we're just gonna wait a minute, right? Which makes sense, right? Macro forces and all that kind of stuff. What's interesting with these AI companies, though, is they're burning so much cash, right? We talk about that with the runway, right? The runway. How long can you keep your little plane, flying before it hits the trees, right? That's with funding and all that. When does the funding run out? One of the big problems for, especially with OpenAI, is they are just burning cash at a tremendous degree. And so there is a real question out there of, can they not IPO? Even if SpaceX burns in, do they still have to launch their little crappy ass plane, their little Rubik's Cube of an aircraft into the stratosphere and hope that thing doesn't blow up? Because otherwise they're gonna run out of money. It'll be kind of curious to see what happens to this whole AI disaster once the investors start backing away. And I talk about this, right, with the investors, and I get a lot of pushback with AI. As I've said before, I remember during the housing boom, and all these people, they'd sit there and they'd talk about, they'd be like, they're not making any more land, right? I still remember that. It's like, yeah, there's Wyoming. Oh, there is Wyoming. Anyways, the curious thing with that is just how valuations just went in the toilet. So we bought a house in like 2007. The guy wanted to sell it for $385, right? So he had bought it for like $100 in like 2002. We bought it 5 years later. He had wanted $385, and then he was mad that we only paid $300 for it, right? Anyways, we bought it for $300. We had it for 5 years or what? No, I guess we have 2005. Anyways, we had it for like 5 years. We put some improvements into it, the whole 9 yards. And remember, during the time period of the housing boom, right, they're not making any more land. It seemed reasonable. Look, like we got the house for significantly less than what the guy was asking for. We had it for 5 years, the whole 9 yards. I still remember calling the real estate agent, having the real estate agent come over. And again, this was during the Great Recession, the this point. They were like going into the Great Recession. And yeah, he looked at the house and he was like, yeah, you know, Eli, here's what we can do. We'll put it on for 225. Put it on for 225. And then we'll see how much further we have to go down. I'm like, what? We bought it for 300 5 years ago, put improvements into it. And we're going to put it on the market for 225 and see how close we can get to that. What? And that's the whole thing with valuations for investments. It's amazing how the value of things can just go up and down, basically based off of market sentiment. What do people feel like this thing should be worth? I've talked about this before with startup valuations. I was sitting there, again, being my good little Aspie, trying to figure out how startups are valued. And finally, I was sitting there with real investors, real startups, the whole 9 yards. And basically, like, Eli, yeah, this is hilarious when you're talking to real people. They're like, yeah, we just pull it out of our ass. I'm like, what? Actual quote. What do you mean you pull it out of your ass? You're like, well, look, it's just how you feel about the company, right? I look at this company and I think it should be valued at $1 million. I look at this other company, I think it should be valued at $10 million. You have different people looking at the exact same companies, and they all figure out what they think it should be valued at, and then that's basically what what we call consensus. The consensus is the agreement that people have when they pull a number, right? You have 20 people all pull numbers out of their asses at the exact same time, and the consensus number is, and that's where you get to a valuation. This is true. This is so true. Anyways. So it's going to be interesting with these AI companies, these AI companies, and they're burning hardware, right? Think about this too. With a lot of companies, right, it's labor. Normally, most companies, the number one cost you're going to have is labor. Even when you look at the big ass building, even when you look at the server rooms, all of that kind of stuff, labor just fucking kills you, right? And so one of the things with a lot of companies, right, if they need to cut costs, this is one of the things we're seeing a lot of now. If they need to cut costs to get to profitability, or at least to a decent mix, right? What they'll do is they'll cut employees. One of the interesting things when you look at OpenAI is they do have a lot of employees and they are expensive, but they are putting so much money into hardware, right? And that's the thing. And you can't lay off a server. You can't walk into your data center and say, server rack, you have just not been living up to expectations. Get out. Now, that's not how server racks work, right? This is all hardware. And not only is it hardware that's already there, and they've basically got to keep, but then also the whole question is, you know, with OpenAI, it's this constant need to add hardware and build data centers and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. So there you go. OpenAI has officially submitted their confidential S1 filing. Basically, because everybody's been like, what the fuck? What's going on here? I think the curious thing, like the actual thing that'll be interested with this is the dynamic between the CFO and the CEO. We know the CFO is much more conservative on the IPO. And we know Sam Altman, the CEO, is much more gangbusters for the IPO. We know there's reasons for both. To be clear here, I love to snark on Sam Altman. Again, you can look at what his sister is accusing Sam Altman of doing. So I do consider him a bit of a bastard. But there is an argument there of trying to IPO while the investment sentiment is very excited. On the other hand, again, with the CFO, there's a good argument for our S1 looks like dog crap. We should probably clean that up before we IPO. And so what'll actually be interesting with this is how that dynamic plays out going forward. So anyways, what do you think about this? What do you think about OpenAI finally filing for their S1? When do you think that they are going to IPO? When do you think civilization will go down in flames? Buy your popcorn now. Buy your popcorn and your toilet paper now. There is nothing worse than your civilization going down in flames and realizing You neither have enough popcorn to munch on while everything burns, nor enough toilet paper to wipe your butt when you eat all that fiber. Popcorn, toilet paper, invest in those now. So what do you think about all this? Put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. A link is in the doobly-doo. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.